Are you stay at home right now?
Oh no, we have a lab, so I still go to the lab every day, except for Fridays. Sometimes I do stuff like this, but we're working quantitative PCR tests. We're actually right now looking at detecting COVID on different samples. We actually have some concerns that it could actually get into the cannabis supply chain as an inhaled product. That's a risk for us. So we're trying to figure out if we can detect this on the cannabis supply chain. Couple reasons for that. If you look at the discovery of coronaviruses, almost all of it comes out of bat guano, and bat guano is used as an agricultural fertilizer in a lot of places. So that's a risk. Yeah, you don't want to be feeding your plants that you're about to inhale bat guano. That should end. But the other thing that's coming up is that there are patients or people that are working in a lot of these grows that are coming down with COVID, and they're handling and trimming the plants. This is ending up on flower? We don't know. Probably not, but we should certainly have a screen in place for it. The third issue is that the comorbidities in COVID have some overlap with cannabinoid users. COPD, a lot of people are using cannabis oils for COPD. They're not smoking flower, so maybe not a big risk there. A lot of diabetes patients, there's a double-blind placebo-controlled trial on THCV, which is a different cannabinoid that seems to be working for diabetes. Cancer, a lot of patients are using this in cancer. So if we have a lot of patients that are using cannabinoids, and they're the same class as the comorbids in COVID, we have to make sure the cannabis supply chain has no COVID in it. So we're building qPCR tests that can monitor that in the cannabis supply chain. I don't know if they're going to get used. It's just our understanding that if this were to ever break out in the cannabis supply chain, our status of being essential business will evaporate overnight, and we'll have a hell of a time getting it back up. And so our thinking is we got to be preemptive here, build the assays. Maybe they never get used, but it's the right thing to do. So we're spending some time in our lab doing that.
It seems to me like that's the way that all companies should have to be, which is to think about what the contingencies are that could knock you down. Because if you don't plan for them, you get burned out of the market and nobody lets you come back in, by bailing you out. It's why the airline industry, I rely on the airline industry. It is what my work is basically done by. But if we just bring them back because they were always there, we miss the chance that we've already had a brush fire. Let the forest fire burn all those things out of there and see what grows next. And it's not going to be as good at first, and it's not going to be as coordinated, but let new things grow instead of propping up the old system and letting the dinosaurs continue moving on.
Yeah, I hope that's what happens. But as what we're seeing is they're probably going to inject government stimulus or checks into these, Boeing or some of these rotting companies that haven't necessarily planned accordingly. So we'll see. That's one challenge we're having with all of these trillions of dollars that are getting printed is they're not going to get rained from helicopters. They're going to get it injected in a Cantillon effect into the economy where people close to government get access to the cash. And that has a further widening of the rich and the poor. We're seeing this with Harvard having to give back money, with Shake Shack getting money. All these PPP loans are finding their way into the hands of people that have good relationships with their banks. Bigger companies are in the front of the line over the smaller companies.
It's and when it happens, when something gets rolled out this fast, mistakes get made. And then sacrificial lambs are brought up to take them out, but you'll never make it just and right, when you move something this fast.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I just sense that this is the time to decentralize, not to centralize. We've got to treat every jurisdiction differently and enable those jurisdictions to open and close as they see fit, as opposed to having, everyone close down at once. I mean, part of the problem when everyone closes down at once, like New York had an issue. I get that they probably need to do what they need to do. But then the hospitals in Kentucky are sitting there starving, waiting for COVID patients to show up and not doing any electives. And they're furloughing employees because they all did one size fits all planning here. They should have actually probably stayed open and dealt with their cancer patients and their heart patients to get them healthy before COVID showed up. And they could have figured out when COVID showed up by testing and reacting to their microenvironment appropriately, as opposed to just following the Cuomo lead, right? I think that's the answer to this viral propagation is you need to decentralize the way it is, as opposed to centralizing and having one guy with the bullhorn try and run the whole economy. That's gonna kill it. That's what you get breadlines for.